I've been playing a bunch of World of Warcraft last year in 2022, especially when the Wrath of the Lich King classic version came out, and then of course Dragonflight. That was kind of my first actual dip into World of Warcraft and that whole MMO scene. I completely fell in love with that world and just that type of game and that genre itself. I have tried MMOs in the past. I've even tried World of Warcraft in the past, but it never really stuck. But last year something happened, something clicked, and I understood why people kept going back into these worlds. Now my love for World of Warcraft kind of started to transfer over into other games, or other games that I always wanted to check out, but I just never did. One of those games being Elder Scrolls Online. Now Elder Scrolls Online was something that I was kind of excited for when it came out, and I did pick it up for the PS4 when it came out a while back, or when they re-released it for the console. I picked it up, put the disc in, installed it, started playing it, and it just didn't work. It just didn't click for me. I just didn't really enjoy it, and I just went back and returned it. Now, of course, back then, maybe I had a different kind of view of games and the types of games that I enjoyed. But now looking at it in 2023, I want to jump back in. I want to kind of see this game through this new lens, having played World of Warcraft, and see whether or not I actually enjoy it. So I picked up Elder Scrolls Online for the PC. The whole High Isles Collector's Edition, whatever it's called, was on sale. So I got basically all the expansions so far, alongside, of course, the base game. And there's no monthly fee. There is a monthly fee that you can pay for, but it's not needed to be able to play the game just regularly. So I picked up the game and installed it on my PC and decided to jump in. One thing I should mention is when you do start the game, you kind of go into this tutorial where they kind of, at the end of the tutorial, you kind of get presented all these areas you can go to within the Elder Scrolls Online universe. It's obviously kind of unclear. They do kind of, when you do talk to some of the NPCs or one of the NPCs, they do mention where you should potentially start. But I did have to kind of Google it to kind of get an idea of where I need to start. So that was one thing that I did not like. I did find a good guide online, so I'm gonna put that link below so you can kind of follow along with that guide, depending on the class and the affiliation you have with, I think it's like the Aldari Dominion. I was trying to see if like this had it on the back on the screen, but basically there's like a faction you can join, and depending on that faction, you start in a specific area and start the story accordingly. So there's been so many expansions that obviously you want to kind of go back, and based on my research, it does make sense to go back and start from the beginning just to kind of understand the story. Unlike World of Warcraft, where I was able to jump into Dragonflight and just kind of fully get engrossed in that story. Same for Battle for Azeroth. With Elder Scrolls Online, again, from my research, it does seem that you do need to be aware of what has happened in the past to kind of progress forward. Right in the beginning of the game, you get a choice to kind of build your character, make your character. I chose a high elf who is a mage or a sorcerer. I've really been enjoying kind of playing these mage builds, especially because of Elden Ring, and even with World of Warcraft with Wrath of the Lich King. So I want to kind of go in and just kind of go in with that character this time around as well. And yeah, just kind of went in and wanted to see how that gameplay is specifically. Elder Scrolls and even Skyrim and Oblivion are kind of known for its gameplay, but also its janky-ish feeling gameplay. Those games never really had that kind of feedback that you would get, when you hit an enemy, when you make some sort of impact on them. You never really got that feedback, and I wanted to kind of see how that works in this. That's one positive thing I would want to say, is that there is a bit more of feedback compared to those games. It's not perfect, it's not Elden Ring, anything like that, but there is feedback enough where when you are making those hits, you do feel some sort of sense of accomplishment. You do feel like, okay, cool, I got a hit in, let's go in again. So automatically, I was kind of already engrossed with that gameplay, especially with the mage. You have like a one-handed, at least in my case, I was using a one-handed battle axe initially. So I was already kind of enjoying the gameplay with that. But on top of that, I have my mage movesets, which I was obviously using 1, 2, 3, and 4 for kind of similar to World of Warcraft. Started using that and automatically just kind of found a really good rhythm in terms of the mage spells that I have alongside my one-handed weapon. The gameplay that I will be showing is going to be of that initial area. I don't want to go too deep into the later stages of the game, just because I'm kind of putting it in front of you as a game that you should check out. So I don't want the game to be ruined for you, especially for newcomers into this MMO. And with that, I should also say that I have spent around 5 hours with this game. And now you might be thinking that, hey, Aman, 5 hours is not enough to make a judgment on an MMO. I will say yes and no. Having played World of Warcraft, I can see, having spent a lot of time with that game, how that has kind of added to my enjoyment for sure, and why I've fallen in love with that whole world. But at the same time, if a game does not grab me initially, I'm not gonna keep playing it. And I feel that's the same case for many of you out there. There's gonna be a lot of you that are looking at this MMO or other MMOs and are thinking that, hey, is this game worthwhile for my time, for my investment, right? At the end of the day, it's about your time and your enjoyment. One of the things that I always don't like hearing from people is when they speak about a game and they talk about how you need to spend 15-20 hours into a game and then it really hits its stride. Or yeah, you just get to the end game and then it's gonna be really enjoyable. Or yeah, get to this chapter and yeah, that's when it gets fun. That's not a good game. A game that you enjoy and that you would want to play should grab you from the beginning, even if it's not in the first hour, in the first couple of hours. If it's not grabbing you at that point, you cannot expect that player to stay for that long of a time past that point. And that's kind of how I feel with Elder Scrolls Online and any game that I play. If a game does not grab me in the first few hours, then it's not a game worth my time. So for that reason, 5 hours is what I have spent with this game. And I'm here to say that those 5 hours were quite good. For someone that, has been waiting for the new Elder Scrolls for a long while, I wanted to kind of jump in this first of all with an open mind and think of this game as, hey, this can be like a little side thing, whilst I'm waiting for Elder Scrolls 6, this is that stopgap. This is that game in between that kind of feeds that hunger until Elder Scrolls 6, whenever it does kind of make its reveal, comes out. Instead, I was surprised that the game is actually structured in a way where it is its own Elder Scrolls game. Now I know, of course, I get it, it's still not an Elder Scrolls mainline game, but when you are doing the storylines, when you are playing the game as it is meant to be played, similar to Skyrim and Oblivion, when you're doing those quests, leveling up, getting new gear, stuff like that, it felt like an Elder Scrolls mainline game. And the story missions and everything like that weren't, very cookie cutter kind of missions. There was a lot of variety. Similar to what really got me into World of Warcraft, there were missions where I had to sneak past a bunch of people. There were missions where I had to kind of trick someone into doing something so that I can get to this door. There were cool missions like that, and that really surprised me. And that was right in the beginning, in the first 5 hours itself. That's the reason I kept playing past that 1 hour point, past that 2 hour point. And when it comes to the main storyline quest right at the beginning, it is very streamlined in the sense that you kind of know what you need to do to get to the next main quest, which is really appreciated. At the same time, there are a lot of cool side missions within the zone that you're in. So each zone that you go into will have a number of cool side missions or missions that you kind of feed into the main story. It's almost kind of like Ubisoft-esque, where you need to do, in especially the newer games, where you need to do a certain amount of side missions to get to a certain point, and then the next main story kind of unlocks. Now again, that might also not sound as appealing, but those side missions aren't necessarily side missions. It's kind of the missions that you get given in World of Warcraft either way. It's missions that have cool structures, cool storylines, cool dialogue. So the other cool thing is everything is voice acted. So far from what I've seen, every little dialogue was voice acted, and that was something that I did not expect. I was expecting a lot of just reading and stuff like that because it is an MMO, but it was all voice acted, which is awesome, and the voice acting is quite good. Now, I haven't played as any of the other classes or styles of gameplay, anything like that, since I've been sticking to mage and that battle axe or a sword in my hand, but the gameplay is actually very engaging. I already kind of mentioned in terms of the feedback that you get with that gameplay. The gameplay loop itself is where you do enjoy kind of going into combat. That's something that I really enjoyed with World of Warcraft, especially with my monk. I really enjoyed going to combat. I was kind of looking for the next fight because I want to try a new move, try a new thing that I learned, or try some a new strategy that I'd come up with. It's the same thing here. There are moments where I'm like, okay, let's go. I want to fight something. That's like the same feeling that I got with Elden Ring And obviously that's a good sign because you do want to play that gameplay. At the end of the day, that is the gameplay. The gameplay is kind of you in that first person mode or third person. You can kind of choose to play in third person as well. But you in that mode and going out and just kind of battling stuff, speaking to people, stuff like that. And I also played with my mouse and keyboard. So that also kind of meant that I had a bit more precision in terms of being a mage. So I was able to kind of aim a little bit more directly and stuff like that, which was quite helpful. So I don't know how it kind of converts over to the controller because I know it's available on Xbox and PlayStation, stuff like that. There is one thing that I want to mention that I was kind of disappointed by. So I do have Xbox Game Pass and I have xCloud and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, you know what? It'll be really cool to kind of play this game on my Steam Deck using xCloud. So I, went in, logged in, all that stuff. And I was trying to connect my ESO account, the Elder Scrolls Online account, the PC one, to the Xbox account. And it won't let me. And at the same time, when I went online, it turns out that the character does not transfer over. At least from what I've researched, especially on their website, it does seem that it does not work, which is kind of disappointing. I did want to be able to kind of transfer over my character between the Xbox console and my PC here, just so that I can play it more often, right? If I have it, especially in bed, playing a game like Elder Scrolls Online or World of Warcraft or any MMO would be great because there's so many things you need to do in those games where you just want to kind of do it in 30 minutes or on the side, get it over with, and then when you have a main story mission, you might go back to your console or your PC or whatever it is. So that was kind of disappointing. I'm gonna keep messing around with that as well, hoping to see if there is some sort of solution to that, or I might just need to reinstall or fully install the PC version onto my Steam Deck, which is doable, but I wouldn't mind using xCloud because it does work well. I've seen from my testing, but still that was kind of one weird issue that I had. The other kind of, I guess, issue almost in a sense would be that there is that Elder Scrolls jank in this game. So you will kind of notice some of the janky animation, stuff like that. Some animations and stuff are really good, especially some the story focused ones. But you will kind of have that, I don't know if it's a beloved thing, but the Elder Scrolls jank that we've kind of, known for many years, which is good and bad, like I said. So it's kind of up to you, but I did want to mention that in case, you're expecting this game to kind of be what you see in those cinematics, because the cinematics look amazing. So, but the game is obviously not exactly that. And that also kind of goes into the graphics. So I have an RTX 4090 and stuff like that. I have a really good PC. I play on a 1440p monitor. So I bump up the resolution, all that stuff, whatever I can possibly do. But even then, the texture quality and stuff isn't great. Everything kind of looks a little muddled, not really muddled, but like it doesn't look good. And that's kind of where I kind of really appreciate what World of Warcraft has done. I kind of understand why they kept that kind of art style with that game, because it just translates over for many years. Whereas with Elder Scrolls, they kind of went with that realistic-ish models because of the Elder Scrolls mainline games, and that kind of stops it, where it is. It kind of stops it at a point that you're like, oh, okay, this is not working anymore. This is not looking good anymore. Obviously it looked really good before, but now when you see a lot of games, especially, seeing in like Callisto Protocol and stuff like that come out last year, it doesn't live up to that. But again, you can kind of move past all of that because at the end of the day, it's about enjoying that experience and enjoying that game. One really awesome thing other than the gameplay that I kind of forgot to mention was the sound. And oh my god, the sound, this is kind of what got me in World of Warcraft as well before, but the sound is amazing. The music is awesome. The soundtrack is so good that like I had to kind of put my headphones on. I put my AirPods Max on to kind of play the game because the music was just so good. I was like, nope, I need the full experience because I could feel it. I could feel that music, the tension and all that kind of go through my body as I was playing the game. So that is one thing I will say. Again, I come from the perspective that music is like half the battle, or if not, like maybe a little bit less, but it is almost half the battle for a game. If you have really good music, it really enhances the overall experience alongside the gameplay. So for me, that was a big yes, and I really enjoyed that. So from that perspective, you'll be having a really good time with this game alongside having that atmosphere to back it up. So overall, I should say that this game has really surprised me. After 5 hours, I want to keep playing. I want to keep playing for another 5 hours, another 15, 20, whatever hours. It is basically what kind of got me into World of Warcraft. I want to keep seeing what happens next. I want to see what happens with the character that I've met, and I want to see what happens with the story. I enjoy the gameplay to the point that I want to keep leveling myself up. I want to level my character up, my movesets up, and kind of see what this mage or sorcerer build can do 20 levels down the road. I am of the mind that, I know this is kind of supposed to be that stopgap between Skyrim and the next Elder Scrolls game, but to me this is an Elder Scrolls game. This is that next journey. This is a full journey. So it's not, a journey where you're like, hey, this is like a side mission on the side and let's wait for the big one. No. This is a proper Elder Scrolls game, and it plays like a proper Elder Scrolls game. And if you are someone that is missing that experience, I have no idea why you're waiting, because I'm here to tell you, as someone new to this game, someone that loves Elder Scrolls, Skyrim and all that stuff, and someone that is really kind of, sick of just waiting for the next game or anything about the next game for so long, this game is the game for you. You will enjoy the atmosphere, the music, the gameplay, and you will enjoy the story. The things that kind of made you fall in love with Skyrim is all here. And best of all, the game has no subscription. There's no monthly thing that you gotta pay. Just buy the game. You can get ESO Plus, which does not really do much, so you don't really need it, but you can get that if you want to. But overall, just you can buy the game as you would Skyrim or any other game, and then you have countless of hours to play. At the same time, you can play with your friends. I think that's the key thing. I have not been able to check this out online in terms of playing with other people, but a lot of stuff that I did, I was like, I could do this with someone else, which is really cool. How many times have I envisioned in my brain playing Skyrim with someone else and kind of experiencing that story with someone else, and how cool that would be. In this case, you can kind of do that. This is not gonna be a Skyrim or Elder Scrolls 6 replacement, like not at all. So I'm not here to kind of state that, but it is a very good, competent, fun game that if you are someone that loves that franchise, you will enjoy this game. Does this mean that I'm gonna stop playing World of Warcraft and dedicate my time to just this game? No, I'm still in love with World of Warcraft. That is still my #1 MMO. That is still something that cannot be topped in my mind so far. But is this game a game that, can stand side by side with WoW, or maybe something that you can kind of play alongside of it? 100%. This is a game that I will go back to. It might not be my main MMO, but it is a game that is fun enough, that is engaging enough, that I want to keep playing. I want to keep enjoying it and seeing that world evolve, and at the same time to see that story evolve over time. So thank you so much for joining, everyone. Really means a lot. Like, subscribe, you know what to do. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye.